Hey guys, welcome to True Sovereignty, where we are mastering our minds so we can reclaim our peace. Today I really want to focus on accountability and how important accountability is in cultivating the life that you want, which is peace, contentment, fulfillment, confidence. Accountability is when you take responsibility for doing something despite your intentions. So you could have amazing intentions, but maybe you did something and it hurt somebody. Maybe you made a mistake at work or in a relationship or in a friendship or in your family. Taking accountability is saying, you're right, I'm wrong, I am responsible, and I will not do that again. It's also being able to discern when it's time to take accountability, because unfortunately, a lot of us out there, like people pleasers, we tend to take accountability for things that we didn't do. So that's when you're really crossing a line of taking accountability where you didn't really, or you shouldn't be taking accountability. And that's a hard line to kind of discern when you are a people pleaser. Because when you're a people pleaser, you just want everybody to be happy, you want everybody to feel good, so you'll do whatever it takes. But being able to take accountability properly stems from the amount of shadow work that you're able to do. And what is shadow work? It's accepting the parts of yourself that might be considered to be flawed, or the dark side of your personality, or the things that you've done in your past that you find shameful. It's integrating the dark side of who you are with the light side of who you are, and saying, I accept myself, I love myself unconditionally, and nobody can tell me otherwise. You can't tell me anything I haven't already told myself or been aware of in myself. So why is taking accountability so important and actually essential, mandatory to have this skill if you want to cultivate the life that you want? Which is not a happy life, it's a content life, because we're not on the search for happiness. We are cultivating, we're not on the search, we are cultivating peace and happiness and contentment and fulfillment. That's what we do on this channel. So, if you do not take accountability, you will notice a few things will begin to happen in your life as an adult. And this is what all young adults go through. They become adults, they turn 18 or they turn 21 or whatever that age is where they start to have responsibilities and relationships and friendships that actually mean something in their life. And they start to recognize that they're either attracting people and people like them, or they're repulsing people and losing people. People are coming in and out of their life very quickly. And one of the reasons why that happens is because they are not taking accountability. So if you're not going to take accountability, or if you're noticing these signs, It's because you're not taking accountability. So one of those signs, or one of the consequences of not having any accountability, is that you will never be able to cultivate the life that you want. You will always be in a state of lack. You won't have the money that you want. You'll always be paycheck to paycheck. You'll never have the job that you want. You'll always be stuck at a dead-end job. You'll never have the marriage you want, the friendships that you want, the peace that you want. Your life will be full of chaos. And how do I know this? Because I've come from a life of chaos. When I was young, I call myself a tornado. I was a tornado in other people's lives. And I had no idea because I was not self-aware. You know, when you're young, you think you know everything, you think you're right all the time, you think you're invincible. You think people should be considering you as opposed to you considering other people. And taking accountability is a way to consider other people. It's saying, I see you. I validate you. Even if I don't understand you, I can see where you're coming from. So if you don't take accountability, you're not going to be able to cultivate your dreams and your goals. And you will see yourself get older and older and older, and nothing that you've wanted is coming to fruition in your 3D reality. It's not because you don't know how to manifest. It's because the core of you, the foundation of you, is me, me, me. It's your ego, your pride. You can't just give it up. Give it up, admit your wrongs. Admit that the reason why you don't have the money that you want, you don't have the friendships or the relationships that you want, are probably because of you. Now, don't get me wrong, there are things that are out of our control in life, absolutely. But a way that you can decipher, is this just completely out of my control, or is this a pattern, a repeating pattern in my life? Well, it's easy. Are most or all categories of your life constantly changing, constantly falling away and having to restart? Is your life unpredictable? Is your life chaotic in all areas? For example, my life is peaceful. My life is peaceful across the board. The one thing that I have trouble with is dating right now because I live in the middle of nowhere. So I could easily say to myself and ask myself, well, is dating my problem or is dating the location that I've chosen? Sorry, is my dating issue a me problem, or is it the location? The location I've chosen. And it's a little bit of both, right? Because I chose this location, but I chose it unknowingly. But the location is kind of a dating wasteland. So I chose the location unknowingly. So it was kind of an accident. But again, there's always a way that you can go back and say, well, how was I responsible for this? Don't get me wrong, there's some things in life that are totally somebody else's responsibility, not yours. But we can still go back and say, well, what mistakes did I make that led to that? We all have, even if it's only like a 0.01% responsibility in a particular situation, we all have some type of responsibility in each situation. Yep, still in the woods, not in my bedroom. I just wanted to pop in and also say that accountability is the way that you choose to respond to a situation. So if something bad happens to you, how are you going to react? How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to process it? Are you going to be a victim? Are you going to wallow in your sadness? Or are you going to take responsibility for how you feel and for how you perceive the situation? Are you going to grow? Are you going to go to therapy? Are you going to go to do what you need to do to take responsibility for how you feel, your perception, and maybe the role you even played in the situation? Take back your power. You're not a hopeless little flower that can't change their life. You are an adult with power. You have power. You have control. You're not a child. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to help you. So take responsibility. Take your power back. You have power. If your life is terrible and it's your fault, or everything bad that happens to you, you just tend to crawl up in a ball and have a temper tantrum. The bad news is, okay, everything bad that happens in your life is your fault. The good news is that everything that happens in your life that's good is also your fault. So that means that you have power, you have control to take responsibility, accountability, and move on and process difficult things. So get out there and do the work. Do what it takes. And you will always find a way. I can promise you that.
Do you take accountability? Do you? Do you take accountability?
So, something else, to go deeper, to be more specific, if you have trouble taking accountability, you probably aren't going to be able to hold down a job. You might be able to get jobs and find jobs because of maybe your degree or your skills, but once they find out that you cannot take constructive criticism, you're not going to be able to hold down the job. If they find out that you give people attitude as opposed to being collaborative and trying to work to solve the issue and taking everything personally as opposed to just being productive, put your head down and be productive, jobs aren't going to want to keep you around. You might even end up blaming them, the job, for all your shortcomings. For all the problems you're having at the job, you might blame them, as opposed to taking any responsibility. Believe me, I've had issues in a lot of my jobs that I've had, but I always say, hey, it's a 50-50, It's a little bit, the job has some problems, the company has some problems, and a little bit that I'm not just, excuse the expression, for lack of a better expression, I'm not manning up and just solving the problems. That's why they hired you, to man up and solve the problem. I don't love that expression, but I can't think of anything else. I could say grow up and solve the problem. Woman up, man up, be an adult, solve the problem, do what your job asks you to do. But yeah, you might not be able to hold down a job for very long if you cannot take accountability. Your coworkers, your bosses, they're not going to be able to respect somebody who can't say, you're right, I messed up, let me fix that. Or you're right, this doesn't look right, let me redo it. So you might have issues in your professional life. Lastly, to go into more depth, you're gonna have relationships. You're gonna have issues in your relationships, friendships, family, romantic. People are not going to be able to take you seriously, respect you, or want to even spend time with you if you can't take accountability. If someone comes to you and says, you hurt me when you said that, and you say, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, or I didn't mean it that way, or, well, that's not my problem, your emotions are not my responsibility. Who wants to hang around with somebody like that? I mean, that's just like arrogance and immaturity. And it's repulsive. You know, nobody wants to be around somebody who can't say, oh my God, I had no idea that that joke made you feel that way. I am so sorry, and I will never do that again. Now, all in all, compatibility matters as well. If you find that you don't share the same humor with somebody else, which has happened to me. I have very dark humor. I can get a little dark, a little offensive at times with my humor. And not everybody finds that to be tasteful, and I understand. And in that, I would say, I am so sorry I offended you. Maybe we're not compatible because that's kind of my type of humor. So if you don't like that type of humor, maybe we shouldn't hang out anymore. If my humor is hurting you, there's mature ways to go about things like that. But to shove it in, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been called way too sensitive, and I've also been called very insensitive. So I know what being on both sides kind of feels like. But when you're the one being called sensitive, being gaslit is not fun. It's not a good feeling. You feel unseen, you feel invalidated. You feel like the person doesn't want to understand you. And then, of course, kind of being called out for doing something wrong or hurting somebody or being the bad guy when you didn't intend to can also be a little frustrating. Absolutely. Nobody wants to be seen as the bad guy, like you did something wrong, so now you have to fix it or you have to apologize, when that wasn't the intention at all, and that's not who you are either. But either way, we have to take accountability. I would even say that people that are offended also have to take accountability and try to see it from the other person's perspective as well. It's like, okay, I understand you didn't mean to say that, or you didn't mean for it to come out that way. I would just appreciate it if you didn't say this particular thing next time, or something along those lines. Or yeah, our humors just don't match up, so maybe we're incompatible. So like I said, every single thing in your life, whether good or bad or neutral, is your fault. Everything. Yes, we are dealt a bad hand of cards. Or maybe we got the short end of the stick in life. There's certain things that are not in our control. But what we can do is take responsibility for the things that are in our control. And that's really all we can do. We can do our best and take responsibility. And when you start to do this, when you start to become self-aware, when you start to catch yourself and you start to check yourself and you start to become more empathetic of others and considerate, you will notice a shift. You'll notice that you can hold down a job, and since you are responsible for everything in your life, you can make more money. You can do side work, extra endeavors, chase your goals. You'll notice that you can easily make friends and easily keep friends. Because people respect you. One of my friends said to me, there's not many women like you because, all right, I'm not saying women are bad, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But he said to me, there's not many women like you that I've noticed because you actually know how to take accountability. Mind you, he's young, he's very young, so he might be hanging out with younger people. That might be why. He hasn't met many women who know how to take accountability. I certainly didn't at his age, so I understand that. That might be a reason, but there are, I would say there are many adults, men and women, who don't know how to take accountability. I know them. I've experienced it. But yeah, when he said that, it was a compliment. And not only that, but I could hear in his voice that the reason he said that was because he was trying to tell me that he had some semblance of respect for me, in a way. And not only that, people can trust you. People trust you when you know how to take accountability because they feel like they can communicate to you if you do something they don't really like or, maybe like make a mistake, or they don't feel like they have to walk on eggshells around someone that takes accountability. First of all, someone that takes accountability has self-awareness, so they're probably not going to be doing many things that are unsavory in the first place. But in the second place, you don't have to walk on eggshells around accountable people because accountable people are accountable people. They're holding their own leash, okay? So it's like accountable people are checking themselves. You don't have to check them most of the time. But even if you do have to check them, they're open to it. They're like, okay, let me hear you out. Let me hear like what you have to say. When you're accountable, you solve problems. You know how to solve problems because you're responsible for everything. So you know how to solve problems and you know how to solve them creatively, which is a sign of intelligence. So being accountable, being curious. I'm curious about how you felt about that. I'm curious about why I'm not making the money I want to make. I'm curious about, why my job doesn't like me. It's being curious as opposed to being defensive. Instead of accusing people or assuming that people think certain things about you, you're curious and you give people the benefit of the doubt. This is what happens when you're accountable. So you can hold a job, you have the ability to make more money and you believe that you can. You make friends, you keep friends. Your relationships are healthier overall. This will lead to confidence in yourself. You trust yourself because others trust you and because you trust yourself. This will lead to contentment, peace, and fulfillment. And that is what this channel is about. And that is why accountability is mandatory. I'm kind of just throwing videos out there, videos topics that kind of like just pop into my mind, I'm just throwing videos out there that these topics just pop into my mind and I write a little script and I talk about it. I free flow. And so I don't know if my topics are a little all over the place, but I'm trying to post videos and topics that kind of are like the initial stages of starting your peaceful life. And I feel like accountability is the most important thing, one of the most important things that we need to cultivate or to have as a skill in order to even begin to think about cultivating a life of maturity and peace and happiness, or whatever you want to call it. And so a lot of these things are core. That's the core of having a good life, a good adult life. And these things are just necessary. They're non-negotiable. I think we have an epidemic of really immature adults right now. And I think a symptom of that is seeing that people don't know how to take accountability, unfortunately. So, if you like these videos, if you feel like you have no support at home, if you feel like you don't know where to start in your journey to trying to cultivate a better life for yourself, please watch my videos. They are, I'm a woman who comes from a life of chaos, who comes from a life of hell, that I pretty much created on my own, by the way. I'm taking accountability. And I hope you take accountability too. Accept that the life that you have now is your fault. And I don't say that to be mean. It's tough love. And sometimes we don't grow up with the parents that know how to parent us and know how to teach us these things. Emotional maturity, teach you about emotions, teach you about accountability, teach you about taking responsibility as an adult, whether you're a man or a woman. Some of our parents just don't know how to teach us these things. So I hope that I can kind of be that at least guide or wake-up call to show you the things that our parents don't teach us a lot of the time. My parents didn't teach me most of these things, so I had to teach myself. So feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell me about a time that you didn't take accountability and it really hurt you. It really fucked you up. Tell me about a time that you did take accountability and it worked. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.